I'm super excited. I'm joined by Jared Dudley, the one and only Los Angeles Lakers forward. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited to get back to the practice facility. I heard next week. Hopefully we're inching towards a season and hopefully, times are better ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I know you're a big advocate of coming back and talking about the repercussions of not coming back for this NBA season. So how important is it for guys to understand, the importance of this season continuing?
Well, for one, I think it's just an obligation we have for as NBA players to be able to bring hope and bring some enjoyment to people that are at home going through tough times. That's the first thing. Second thing is safety. Can we be able to play safe enough to us be able to not risk anything? A lot of people have families. You have people you take care of, and I just think the NBA was the first people ever to shut down. They care about safety. You heard Adam Silver say about that we need 15,000 tests to be able to finish the season. And so he's waited. He's waited to see the economy and people can they get testing more frequently at home and their own safety just for society. And then the data behind it to see basically the dying rate. What is it? What is it between ages of 35? And it's so low when it comes to that age. And the more we test, the more numbers become even more, heightened. So for us, I just think that we're going to have a good opportunity. And I just think that players have to realize if we don't play, there'll be a totally new CBA because the money Disney that owns ESPN, if they don't get a finals or playoffs, that's where they make their money. If they don't get that, they don't have to pay the league. And if they don't pay the league, that means the cap next year will be almost in half and players will make a lot less.
So yeah, they don't think about this stuff. Again,
No.
it's important, and you're a business guy.
Yeah.
I know that you're very vocal, not just on the court, but off the court as well. And I think that's really important. You've always been a player's advocate. You're one that you want these guys to get their money that they deserve and whatnot. How important is that for you in terms of leadership to be able to kind of help these guys?
My biggest, achievement has been helping guys really get paid. The Devin Bookers, the D'Angelo Russells, and do I think they would have eventually got paid? Yes. Even Giannis. And these guys will tell you that the talks I have in the locker room, on the bus, on the airplanes, in the huddles, during timeouts, even if I'm not playing, if I am playing, what I see, what they need to be able to improve, leadership skills that Booker might use now that he might have learned from me of when to speak up in film sessions, when to take responsibility, when it comes to their finances of baby mamas or parents or family members of getting too much money and being responsible because at the end of the day, you might be young, but you are the leader in your family. You might be 19, 20, these guys, and it's a lot of pressure. And how do you take some of that pressure away from you and be able to stay in the right path? And so for me, it's been something that I've been involved in. And I see myself, as a future coach, a future GM, that leadership has prepared me to play with guys like LeBron, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, and young guys like Kuzma. So it's all spectrums, and it's something that I think I was just born with.
You just touched on so many things. I don't know where to go with that. There's a couple things. So the first thing I think that you touched on is knowing when guys need to stand up and speak up and get what they deserve. So you're a guy that has taken, pay cuts in the past couple of years to be able to implement your leadership into the locker room. How do you know when you should do that? Like, how do you find that humility within yourself to be like, I get that I've been in the league for quite some time. I played with Hall of Famers, against Hall of Famers, to actually say, I'm going to take a step back and understand that I'm here for the purpose of leading.
Well, I think everyone's situation is different. I think be who you are. One thing I took from Doc Rivers was, and when I played for the Clippers, was star in your role. And that's true in facets of all life. I don't care if you are working for the newspaper, ESPN, the Lakers, or even a school. Everyone has their role in that team. And so for me, I was trying to find my niche. Early on, I was with the Bobcats, get traded to Phoenix. I become this three-point shooter that I worked on, and I got paid for that. And then eventually I go to the Clippers, a good team. I get traded to Milwaukee on young teams, and then the Wizards young teams. And I find my niche where, hey, listen, I'm not supposed to be a starter anymore in this league. Let Giannis be a starter. Let me be a veteran where I could be a backup player for the next 7 to 8 years, be a mentor. I was 30 and the oldest player on Milwaukee. Then I go to somewhere like the Wizards. I actually asked for them to trade me because Jabari was coming back. It was his time to come over to take more of a playing time, and they need to go, for them to reach their potential. So I go to the Wizards. I play. I get paid to go back to Phoenix. And so now I've made my money. And now it's about situations. I get traded to, what's it called? I get traded to Brooklyn. I've been on so many teams. I get traded to Brooklyn, another young team. We make the playoffs. So now I have a reputation of being a mentor to these young players, Bradley, Booker, Giannis, and now D'Angelo Russell. And so for me, I could have potentially gone back to Brooklyn. But for me, now I was looking on championship I don't have and playing with a superstar of some of LeBron James status. And so to learn from him business-wise, to learn from the Lakers, who has the biggest brand in basketball, and help me there to accomplish my goal. So it's timing. It's knowing when to sacrifice and when to look at the back end of your career or the back end of life after basketball. And so for one, I say, listen, star in your role, make the amount of money you can early, so then later in life you can make the best decisions for you and your family.
I love that. And again, you touched on so many things. I don't know where to go from there. But with the Suns, I know you played with Amari, you played with Chance Guy, Steve Nash. I mean, that was a legendary team right there.
Yeah.
I think you guys deserve to win a championship, but you guys obviously came in contact with a guy named Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
What was it like, playing against him? That fierce competitor, he left it on the floor every single night. What was that like going up against him?
I mean, for sure. I think you touched on the fierce competitor. I've never seen someone as competitive as him, as getting on his teammates, kind of like how Mike did in The Last Dance, demanding the ball, attacking over and over and over. And it was just like, even to this day, the amount of shots, the clutch, the degree of difficulty that he made against us that series, all you could do is tip your hat to him. They were the better team. He was the best player in the league. They won a championship that year. We were close. We had a chance. The one time he does miss, he airballs, and Ron Artest catches it and lays it up at the buzzer to win. But you know what? You're right. I thought that was my best chance to win a championship until this year, and you only get maybe once or two times. But Kobe was phenomenal. I mean, his relentlessness defensively, offensively, and the way his aura, there are teams you felt like you were going to win. You always had a chance, but not even had a chance. You felt like he was going to find a way to win for you.
Absolutely. Now you're playing with a guy of that caliber in LeBron James. I mean, like I said, you played with Hall of Famers, against Hall of Famers. What is it like playing alongside LeBron, and what is something maybe new that you've learned from him that other players really haven't been able to showcase?
For one, what it's like, I mean, it's crazy because you have the biggest brand in the Lakers and then the biggest brand out of one individual athlete out of all sports is LeBron. So it's magnifying. So it feels like we're like the Beatles. And, I'm in the background watching the show go on and seeing all what's going on. And it's just phenomenal how he prepares. The weight room. I mean, everyone hears about the 6 a.m. weight rooms for sure. And you hear about he has his own guys stretching him in the morning, stretching him before he goes to bed. And he gets his shots with his coaches, and then what he eats and how he prepares. And then you see him being in, locked in mode in the locker room. But then he switches it off, and he's the jokester. He's the clown guy. He's the one setting up dinners, setting up movie theater stuff, us to hang out. He's a guy's guy. He's got a kid who's obviously in high school, so he's still hip to the urban, hip to all the young rappers and this, that. I don't even know if he plays video games that much, but for me, he likes to be everywhere. He's not that guy where I heard Kobe was kind of sitting in the back of the plane with his teammates, more of a quiet, and he's not a guy who's on you 24/7 demanding it. He's in between. He's someone where he'll say his 2 or 3 things to you, and if you can't get it done, it's the next person up. And he's also someone where I'll put my arm around you, hey, I got your back. And he's another person where, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's talk about how we lost this game and how we can improve. So he has a great balance about how he deals with certain people, individuals. And to me, he's the guy's guy. He's someone you want to hang out with, someone who just brings great energy right when he walks into a room.
So definitely not like an MJ guy saying those horrible things at practice. How would you have handled a guy like Michael Jordan?
For one, it's funny. Michael Jordan drafted me. I had Michael Jordan when I played for the Bobcats, and hanging out with him in college, where I played on his team at the Jordan camp when I was at BC. And for what I love Jordan, it was funny. So him talking to me, Jordan loves that competition. So he would have loved me because I would have gambled with him. I would have played golf with him. So he would have said some slick things, but you guys say it back. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like disrespecting someone. It's knowing that he can't talk to you a certain way. And one thing you saw Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr swung on his chest. Now you saw he's smart. He didn't swing on his face because he would have been off the team. He swung on his chest, and since then he told you his relationship changed. So if you're someone that's a nice guy, you're gonna take it. He's gonna be on you 24/7. But if you're another person that, basically, hey, listen, you're gonna have to respect me. That will make him respect you, and then he knows we can go to war together.
So when we see all these comparisons now, again, Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan, do you think these comparisons are unfair? I mean, given the different generations, and do you think it takes away from the greatness of each individual player?
I think it does take away from the greatness of each person. Do I think it's unfair? No. I think it's not unfair because for all of us, you are doing something as entertainment. We're making tons of millions of dollars. We're playing in a global thing. And so for us, it's, the media has their way to have to provide for their family and people that are on shows. And so, yes. Now, do I think some of the stuff they say is fair to LeBron? No. Is the pressure fair? Yeah, pressure is. We all have pressure. I mean, maybe his pressure is just higher. It's that it's so heightened because of what he came out of, his potential, what he's overcome, what he's done. And so guys like me, people want to say, Jared, I got pressure because if I don't make certain shots, maybe I'm not playing in the NBA anymore. So we all have pressure. So I think it's fair because the amount of money we make, the dreams, the entertainment we are, but we should enjoy him a little bit more. Listen, Rush, I'm wearing Kobe's shirt, you're wearing Kobe. Don't we all wish we would have enjoyed him a little bit more and praised him more as a player? And it's not until they're gone till we really give them the just due, and that's kind of a sad story where I hope Jordan, he's gotten his just due. We're praising him now, obviously, and LeBron should be next.
Knowing LeBron and who he is and the competitor, obviously, do you think that he thinks that he's the best player all time?
For sure. I think Kobe thought that too, to be honest with you. I think that you have to think that way, especially, we all have that. If it's video games, you think you're the best 2K or Madden player. If it's, cards. And so for him, listen, man came at 18 years old as the most hyped player ever. We would all say he's not only lived up to it, he surpassed it. He's arguably beaten, if not the greatest, because Jordan was the greatest, the 72-10 win team. But if the Warriors would have won, it would have been an argument of them being the greatest. He beat them being down 3-1. So after that, you would have told me I wasn't the greatest of that. And so I think it's really apples to oranges when you debate their career. One has more titles, one's been to the finals more, one's going to have more longevity. So it's basically whatever you prefer, and that's where the debate comes.
So with a guy like LeBron, and obviously as an NBA player yourself, you deal with a lot. You were talking about being under pressure or the spotlight, handling fans running up to you 24/7 and media wanting, requests constantly.
I think everyone, you have a good foundation. If it's not your significant others, your wife or your children, if it's your parents, if it's your friends and how key your friends are, if it's, for each person's religion, spiritual, being God, being placed in that. And so I think that everyone is different, but I always say control what you can control. What you put into life is what you get out of it. If you half-ass something, then you might get half the work. So for me, it's always been, why would I walk home? I rarely take a game with me. Once you see your wife and your kids, it usually gets thrown out the door. And for me, it's always even keel. Steve Nash once told me, never get too high on a win, never get too low on a loss. And so that's been my mantra ever since I met him, 10 years ago or 11 years ago when I had that, we lost the playoff game. So I never let it. Listen, stay even keel. What you've been working and what the kind of work ethic you put in, it's gonna pan out the way it is. And sometimes it's gonna be a loss. Sometimes you're gonna miss a key shot, but sometimes you make a play you weren't supposed to make. So in life, everything usually evens out.
And everything happens the way it's supposed to.
For sure.
Absolutely. So with Steve Nash, all these other debates are popping off with best point guard all time. Where do you think he ranks?
That's a great question. I think you have to go with. You have to go with Magic. You have to go with Isaiah Thomas. You have to go with Steph Curry. Even though he's not done playing, I think that what he's shown you as being the greatest shooter, winning MVPs. Obviously, I know Kevin Durant, so everyone debates it, should that count as much? But even with that, he won without him, and he took a team 173. I'm putting him in there. I'm putting Oscar Robertson in there. That's 4. So I think Nash is going to go between 5 and 8. You got Jay Kidd, you got Stockton, you got Nash. And so I think he's in anywhere from that 5 to 8 range. I'll put him 5 because he's an ex-teammate, and I'll show him love. But if someone said Jay Kidd, if someone said John Stockton, they all have their own. But I mean, Nash could have played in any era. I mean, like all these top 5 guys. I just think that if you'd have played in this era with his shooting ability and his passing and the more possessions, you can only imagine what he would have done.
And I feel like it's kind of like steering away from that, where we're starting to see more guys develop into roles of being able to pass more, better handles, need to be able to shoot. So for some of the guys that are coming into the league, some of the young guys who are developing their skills, what are some of the main things that they really need to focus on and possess to be able to make it in the NBA and stay as long as you have?
Well, first thing I would say defensively, you got to be able to guard 1 through 4, 1 through 5. So before it was such a pick and roll coverage, but now everyone's switching. So you have kids at home, at college or high school, you got to be able to work on guarding point guards. Be able to guard a power forward in the post where you get switched if you're a point guard. To be able to move laterally, the PJ Tuckers of the world, the Draymond Greens. This is the new hybrid, be able to guard 1 through 4, LeBron, AD. We put AD at the center. LeBron goes to point guard. We can switch ball screens. And then after that, how good is your one-on-one skills on limited dribbles? Don't look at the James Hardens of the world and the Chris Pauls that have the ball in the hand 90% of the time. That's even in the NBA, that's rare. Can you be able to get switched? You got a bigger defender, be able to break him down and either get a layup or be able to pass out for threes. Mid-range is irrelevant for 70, 80%. The Kawhis, the LeBrons, the ADs, the lead of the league, you can do that. And those guys do work. DeMar DeRozan's, but to be able to guard players and stay in front, to be able to get past players, and then shooting ability. We're such a space league. To be able to shoot, to be able to be in shape and run the floor and to be able to do that, man, that's the new era, and kids are already advanced in that.
So do you think a guy like James Harden or Chris Paul can win championships with the way they play, or do you think they need to take the ball out of their hands a little bit more?
I think I take the ball out of hands. I think you got to be diverse, and I think that if there's any person that could win it, would be James. He's gotten close. He's never been to a finals, but he's lost to 2 teams that have won the championship. And so he's so elite at what he does. And because he gets to the free throw line, what it is it's your teammates. Because it's not a basketball style that most players want to play with. And so he has guys like PJ Tucker's a good friend of mine. All he wants to do is play defense and rebound and hit open threes. But guys like Chris Paul, you saw them kind of button heads a little bit. Him and Westbrook is actually, I think, has done fairly well. And so I do think that if you looked at the age of, obviously it was big man for a while, then Jordan came. And then after Jordan, you had Kobe and Shaq. And those guys were so dominant of how they were. And then you keep going with the Spurs, where they won with Duncan in the post. Then they won with Duncan as a 3-point, him at the 5, moving the ball. And then LeBron goes, and the Celtics, you got to have versatility where you can throw the ball in the post sometimes on a smaller defender, and the guy's elite. Can you play in transition? Can you play through the elbow, not just pick and roll ISO? I just think it's very difficult with today's day of good defenders.
So I know you mentioned that after basketball, you'd want to be a GM or a coach. Is that
head coach? Yep.
Head coach. Okay. So if you were a GM, I want to take a look at the Spurs for a second. They're a team where I think this year would have been the first year that they didn't make the playoffs in like something like 19, 20 years, something crazy like that. What do you think it is that they do that works so well, where they're able to keep getting back to the playoffs year in, year out? And sometimes they kind of find those stars where those guys might be overlooked, and
listen, I will give them credit to a certain degree. They got lucky with the Tim Duncan one. Once you get Tim Duncan, you get 15, 20 years of excellence. Now, he was going to be good no matter what team he went to. I don't care what nobody. Now, championships, I give credit for that. They were one of the best at player development. And they hit the curve before everyone of finding star players overseas. The cat's out the bag now. They're not going to be able to roll that because their disciples have gone to so many different teams. So many people have Europe connections. They didn't find Milwaukee found Giannis when he was like that. It happens all the time. So their development of that, they got Kawhi where no one had him. That the trade with George Hill, they saw something in him, but they developed Kawhi. Kawhi wasn't that player he is now. So I give them their player development, but it's going to be tough now because you saw now with Kawhi and the way the Spurs, how they kind of conduct themselves, which is first class. but it's kind of military-ish, and a lot of players don't like that. Miami's like that too, and so you'll get, if you get a Jimmy Butler that wants to go play for that, but there are a lot of players that prefer more freedom, more free-flowing, and they're making so much money nowadays, they don't have to, they can decide where they go. And so it's going to be very curious to see them in the future because they're kind of stuck in that, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 spot. And that's the one spot you don't want to be stuck in. So do they break it down and try to work on their drafting, but they have a Hall of Fame coach in Popovich? It's going to be very interesting, but Coach Popovich is one of the best coaches of all time, and the player development is top tier.
Yeah, I would agree, because when I looked at that stat, I was like, because I was trying to think how many years in a row have they actually been to the playoffs, and it's been so long. So I also want to go back to your college days a little bit. So I don't think people remember that you were a walking bucket, but you were unrecruited, and you went through the AAU circuits. You stayed confident in yourself. What really came with that confidence? How were you so confident? How did you know, hey, I belong here, I belong to get?
I mean, I was at San Diego. I was the first person ever in San Diego to win 2 state titles back to back. I played against Trevor Ariza when he went to Westchester. It was like they had like 3 NBA players. They were ranked like 7th or 8th in the country. That's when LeBron gave him 50 in high school in that game after his suspension. We lost to them by like 5. That was my only loss my senior year. I go to ABCD camp with Dwight Howard and those guys. I make the all-star team. And so I'm just looking at it like the schools weren't matching up with the accolades and the success. So I declared for prep school. And right before I'm heading to prep school, I qualified. It wasn't like I had to go to for academics. I already qualified, SAT and everything. But 2 or 3 people got kicked out of BC. 1 got homesick, 2 got kicked out. And so there was an opportunity to start for a Big East team that was going to go in the ACC that already had good pieces around it. A power forward like Craig Smith, who played in the NBA, averaged 20 and 10 his freshman, I think it was his sophomore year when I got there. They had seniors at the point guard and senior and center position. So for me, I signed in August, and in September I enrolled in school. It was like the latest thing, and it was the best decision I made because my senior year, I led the NCAA in minutes. By my senior year, as ACC Player of the Year, so I got an opportunity of being that appreciative, someone who's not ranked, chip on your shoulder guy to play against all these ranked kids. And for me, it drove me to be a first-round draft pick.
How important is it for these guys who are coming up to maintain a level of confidence in themselves, even when they're not being heavily recruited? And also, I want to kind of hear your take on players deciding to go to the G League instead of going to college.
I would say you have to remain confident. And I don't even know if confidence is the word, because sometimes people are a little too confident in a sense. These high school kids, they're listening to people this and listening to that. I knew in high school I wasn't ready to go to Duke or Carolina. If they would have recruited me, I don't even think I would have gone. And I know that might sound crazy because I just know of the top teams, of the top players. I wanted to go to University of Arizona. At that time, they had Luke Walton, Hassan Adams, and I actually went to their high school camp. I went to the high school camp. I met with Lou Olson. Lou Olson told me, hey, I wish I could have you. We have too much people here. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And it ended up working out best for me. It's like, listen, you can't lie to yourself. You have to understand your skill and your ability. I know your mom thinks you're the greatest. Your friends think this. You should do this. You have to know, I know I'm not an all-star player. I know that I have to keep it improving in my skills in high school and college. I was going to put my name in the draft my junior year, but then I had self-reflection, no, I'm not ready. And so these kids are listening. They're getting the wrong advice. They gotta pick their support team better when it comes to making decisions. And then what was your second question? What was that one about?
The G League, guys.
The G League.
Going, yeah.
I like the G League, but the G League needs to keep upgrading. The salaries need to include. You see how they're paying the green kid $500,000, and then the other kid is $300,000. But yet G League players are making $40,000 to $60,000. Like I know the two ways we need to be able to get it where they're getting $250,000 to $500,000, make it more elite. The facilities are coming around. The Lakers have a great one. Most of these players do have great ones when it comes to this. I'm sorry about that. But they need to keep upgrading. And so what they're doing for the high school ones is, I heard there might be a Mamba Academy, working out, training in LA. That's perfect. They got the facilities. They got that. Then they'll travel around and maybe do some West Coast games. That's perfect. But for the real G League, they're taking bus rides and commercial flights. For us to be the best and take these players, instead of them going overseas into China, you know how good the G League players are if our players stay here, and that's something that has to do with finances.
That's no, definitely true. And as you were mentioning too about going to colleges, I mean, we saw Steph Curry. He didn't go to the sexy school, neither
For
did
sure.
Lillard, and now look at them. So I think that was really smart at the point where you didn't want to go where there was like, you know,
No.
5 or 6 potential draft picks on one team, because then you wouldn't have gotten enough time to really showcase your abilities on the floor. You know, as maybe a 6th or 7th man or whatever it would have been on like a Kentucky or a Duke.
I mean, like, look at John Morant. John Morant's a perfect example here, number 2 pick of where he was at. And so go where you can play, go where you have an opportunity to showcase, because the NBA don't find you. Now, it's easier at the other schools for sure, and your path is going to be different. So for me, at least I was in a top tier. I was in the Big East and then the ACC. So I'm going to get TV games. It's harder for guys like Damian Lillard and John Morant, but their skills shine so bright that you couldn't deny them.
Absolutely. And I actually wanted to talk to you about John Morant really quick.
Okay.
I actually had a chance to interview him the other day. Amazing kid. And I definitely think we're going to be seeing a lot of him over the next couple of years, hopefully 10, 15-year career. But when you look at this next generation of kids coming in, you got Ja, Luka, Zion, Trae Young, how do you compare them to past generations?
I think they're ahead of the curve. For one, the game has changed and their skill set is heightened to where the rules are perfect for them. They're more mature. Luka obviously played professionally before he came here. The athleticism of someone like Zion and these guys are the evolution of players is phenomenal. The PA in the league has done a good job of putting programs in place, and it's a younger league. It's not like when you saw we were watching The Last Dance. These all-star games where most of them are all vets, they're young. I mean, there's so many first-time all-stars and they're getting in, and now LeBron and those guys like KD and Steph, 30 to 32, 33. Like now they're the old guys where they was just the young players. And so I think they're on the right path. They have a chip on their shoulder. They play the game the right way. They're as good as they are offensively. They want to be unselfish and passing the ball. And the guys that we named, they're winners. Zion would have been the playoffs. It wasn't, the way John Morant has turned around Memphis is phenomenal. And the way Luka has taken that team to a contending type team is phenomenal.
So do you think the league is starting to really shift towards the younger players? Because I'm noticing a guy like Jamal Crawford, who I still think could be in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
What's going on with that? Why aren't teams wanting to pick him up?
I would say this. It's so when you are a bad team, you don't want a player to take away from younger guys. So if you're not considered a mentor, which Jamal Crawford is, but if that's not your reputation. And so for me, I got blessed/lucky going to Milwaukee from the Clippers because I went from the oldest player. So now they're looking at me for leadership. Mm-hmm. And all that I've learned from Steven Grant and going CP and now being the leader, well, now the team had the worst record the year before. Now we're in the playoffs. Now they're wondering, how is this team in the playoffs? Well, hey, there's no all-stars in the team. They play good basketball. They have great leadership. And so I got accolades off that. And so someone like Jamal he just doesn't get that perception. Everyone says, oh, he's a bucket. He can score. Well, a lot of people aren't looking for scores. Like they have their scores in place. They want these young guys getting the shot. The young. So hey, if I was him, I would have been talking to GMs, which I'm pretty sure he has, and these scouts and maybe even ownership. Listen here, I'm not here to score. I'm here to help develop these young players. And I thought he did a good job in Phoenix, not only scoring but helping Booker. It's hey, like with me when it comes to Kuzma and D'Lo and John, we used to watch film on the plane. So you can't deny that. So for someone like me, I'm watching film with you. I'm texting you after games what I liked, what I didn't like. If you watch a Laker game, the first person I go to is Kuzma. That's my guy. Or, hey, my development, his development is through me a lot of the time. Now it's the coaches, but you can't develop more than a player who's been playing and who knows the game. And so I just think that they didn't perceive him as a mentor as he is. And I know Jamal really well, and he is. And so when you get in the back end, like myself, they don't want you to play no more. Unless you're LeBron, they want you to sit the bench and help out, and that's what I'm willing to do.
So a guy like Kuzma, I know that a lot of the guys that were with him at first on the Lakers ended up getting traded for Anthony Davis. How has Kuzma developed into his role, and how has he adapted to having a guy like LeBron and I guess AD on the team with him?
I think ups and downs. I call it peaks and valleys. For one, he got off to a rocky start because he got hurt in the USA, so he fell behind. Mm-hmm. He didn't do training camp, didn't do preseason. So, it's hard to come back, 10, 12 games in. And then eventually he hit his stride. Those guys miss games. Every time LeBron or AD misses, he averages like 23 points a game. So you see the potential. Mm-hmm. But then recently we saw him rebounding the ball better. His offensive rebounding went up. His defensive rebounding. He blocked shots. And we see on film him staying in front of Westbrook. And then now we see him be a playmaker. Now he's turning the ball over more because we're giving him more of an opportunity, because we see that, hey, this year in the playoffs or next year, it can be something that we can actually use during crunch time or during stuff that we need when LeBron takes a breather and so forth like that. Like, it's going to be an up and down battle with Kuzma. And so we know the ups are soon to come where we need it's going to be consistently. And I don't even care if you're a young player now, you could be an all-star. From your role diminishing from Anthony Davis it's going to be a change. You saw Kevin Love had to go through change as a starter with LeBron and Kyrie. So imagine a guy who's 24 coming off the bench in LA with all them different hairstyles. It's going to take him a little while.
Absolutely. And LA, they're a tough crowd. That's a tough fan base to have to play in front of, for sure.
For sure, man. It's crazy. Like, I have only seen the good, and like I say it just because Laker Nation. And for one, let's be honest, we were the best team in the Western Conference. We've been winning every time. They show you love, but yeah, they want to win. For them, it's championship or bust, as it should be. And so, someone like Kuzma, they want consistency, and it's tough, man. It's tough for anyone except for LeBron and AD because we're so deep. We have so many different guys. We can put LeBron at the 4. We can then go with 3 guards, and so Kuzma's our third best player. The coaching staff is working with him every day. I'm working with him every day. And so he has everything that he needs to be successful with us.
So before the season came to a halt, it was Lakers, Clippers, potentially for the Western Conference Finals. And I'm hoping we get to see that, because that would just mean a lot, not just for the Lakers to have that back to the city, but also for Kobe Bryant, who I know would have loved to see that go down. So when you compare what the Lakers have to the Clippers, how do you guys think you match up?
I mean, it's definitely a great matchup. I mean, I think they beat us twice. We beat them once, I think, the last game. But, I mean, they're talented. They're deep. They're physical. They have star power. I think for us we have length and size, which they don't really have. When it comes to Harold's undersized, they don't really play Zubac a ton of minutes. And so JaVale, Dwight, AD, LeBron. And so the size, can you wear them down size? LeBron took the challenge of guard. Kawhi did a phenomenal job. We scored. We beat them at their place. And so it's going to come down to, can our role players hit timely shots? Avery Bradley played phenomenal. That's one of the reasons why we bought him. And who really believes it during this time off? Who's staying the most in shape? Who's ready to go? Who's healthiest? And I think just for everyone, league-wise, revenue, ratings, everyone wants to see LeBron, Kawhi, wants to see Lakers, Clippers, and then everyone hopefully wants to see, Lakers and Giannis. I mean, this is a star-driven league, and people want to see that. So hopefully we can be there. Hopefully we have a season. I know everyone's hoping for the best and hoping for safety, man, but I think the league really needs that matchup.
What would it mean to you to win an NBA championship? I know it's something you've been going after.
Wow. I mean, I think that's the last thing for me. I just think that just to go through that experience, the highs and the lows, because you're probably going to be down one series and having to overcome, or be a nail biter. I think for me, you just put the stamp to everything. As a kid, you worry about winning the championship. So for me, it would just be in that locker room celebrating and champagne and having the goggles on, and I just think it's a surreal moment that will be up there with your birth of your kids. You have your kids first, and then maybe your marriage, and then your championship will be the third one, man. Because there's no better accomplishment than that.
Phil, who was able to set this up for us, he had that opportunity of winning 2 championships, and we actually talked about that. How the first one he didn't really get to enjoy as much, just because there was so much going on. But the second time he was like, all right, I need to actually enjoy this. Obviously he's one of the best coaches in the league, hands down, not just for what he does on the court, but off the court as well. Very humble guy, really cares about the guys he works with. What's your experience been like with him?
Well, first thing first, Phil Handy will be a head coach in the next 2 or 3 years. For one, his grasp of player development. So he's a rare head coach potentially that can get on the floor and do drills that star players can't even do. His ball handling is superior. If you look at Kyrie drills to Steph Curry's, what he does with LeBron and Kawhi. And then the biggest thing people understand, you have to have a communication with stars. And his communication with star players, he's shown you when he with Kawhi, when he's been with LeBron, and I've seen it up hand. It's phenomenal because he can talk to you a certain way that another head coach couldn't. Like T. Luke can, like Popovich I've seen can, like I've seen Spoelstra. He'll get after you. He'll let you know when you're messing around, you're BSing. If you ever see him on the sideline, He's not someone to sugarcoat anything. He's honest. He's direct, and players love that. And so I think now is just the opportunity for him to show his X's and O's and stuff like that. But, I mean, communication is crucial with your star players. The player development is crucial for that. And so for me, he has all the intangibles, and I think it's only a matter of time.
Absolutely. Just a couple more questions for you. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. So I want to kind of just go back really quickly to when you're talking about how you were mentoring Devin Booker, who I definitely think is going to continue to be a star in this league. And I hopefully we see more all-star appearances, not just because someone got injured, but because he actually deserves to be there. But there was something that all the smoke came out with the other day with Jason Tatum and how he was supposed to get drafted to the Suns. What would it have been like to see Devin Booker play alongside Jason Tatum?
I mean, I heard that, but I mean, I'm not gonna say that's false.
Okay.
Earl Watson wanted Tatum. I heard he had a phenomenal workout, which is, listen, Tatum was one of the best players in that draft. Like, he was supposed to, he could have gone, 1, 2, or 3, depending on what. Ball went there to the Lakers because of the hype. Markelle Fultz, that was the shock because they traded it because they needed a point guard. So they went by more of a need than the best player. And so the reason when I hear that is, man, I still think the Suns would have struggled because if the foundation, it was the head coaching to the general manager to the player development, they weren't in line and they didn't have the right. Now, he would have helped the curve, but you might not be able to get DeAndre Ayton. What's DeAndre Ayton going to be? What vets are you going to put around him? So I think they would have been better off, but it still wouldn't have been a playoff team of how it was. The real question to people that has been mentioned, which was true, was they could have traded that 4th pick Josh Jackson for Kyrie Irving. And that's what would have been it differently because that was Kyrie in his prime after he won his championship. And if you get Kyrie now with Booker in that prime, and now you throw pieces around him, what that would have been. So the Tatum one, he would have been young. Would he have developed the same way? Boston, their development, how well they are with Brad Stevens. I think he was better off doing what he did. But the Kyrie one is one I wish, like, man, they would have done that one for Josh Jackson and that 4th pick, which we didn't know it was Josh Jackson at the time. That would have been surreal for Phoenix. And
it's crazy because Kyrie and Devin have such a close relationship. They're really good friends. I don't know how long they've been friends for, but they've been friends for quite some time. But as someone who lives in Phoenix and I've covered the Suns, I want to see them do well because, when you're around these players, you develop not just like a relationship media-wise, but you care about them. You want them to do well because you're seeing the grind they put in every day. And I'm just like, man,
they're definitely they're definitely now in the right direction.
Yeah.
The GM, when it comes to James Jones hiring the head coach Monty, him having security of a 5-year deal, knowing he's going to be here for a while. DeAndre Ayton now, is now progressing the right way from last year to this year. Booker took the step. They brought in guys, great trade in Oubre. They brought in a quality point guard they haven't had in a while in Rubio. So now it's keep pushing. What are you going to do with this draft pick? Are you going to trade it? They need to get a couple more vets in there to help Booker. Can they sign, maybe not an all-star, can they sign a fringe 27, 28 really rotational player? And so if they do that, they'll be fighting for the playoffs next year like they were this year. But they'll win more games, and they'll be knocking on the door. But they're definitely heading in the right direction finally.
We see you, what you post on Twitter, we see you on the court. Who is Jared Dudley off the court? And besides basketball, what do you like to do?
I would say Jared Dudley off the court is one of the best planners in the world when it comes to my future, when it comes to my trips, when I do my vacations overseas, Caribbean. I'm a movie guy. I'm a bougie movie guy. It's got to be one of those ones you pay the $20, you pick your seat, and you got to put your feet up with the blanket. I love movies. I love going shopping online, these different boutiques here. Just outgoing, try new restaurants. I'm the Yelp king. I definitely look at the ratings before I go, and I like to try new spots just to see what's around me, wherever in my neighborhood. But someone that's always changing, an adventure, and wants to try new things for sure.
I do appreciate your time. Again, I hope you stay safe. I hope we could see you guys back in the playoffs and win a championship, hopefully.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.